Ashley.
Hey man, what's going on?
I have created something truly extraordinary.
Oh shit, for real? What's that?
It's called a podcast.
Vern, that has already been invented.
Yeah, but our show, Cinema Recall, we're going to talk about movies.
Oh, okay.
You know, like box office blockbusters,
Yeah,
foreign independent films,
gotcha.
musicals and animation,
Yeah, lots of people do that.
S-rated adult flicks.
Ew, Vern, no! What makes Cinema Recall different from the rest?
Well, we will be offering great content with a wide variety of guests on both our podcast platforms and YouTube as well.
Variety. Like, it covers many different genres of film?
Exactly. We want to be the show for fans of cult features like Howard the Duck, to be friends with fans of big blockbusters like Spider-Man No Way Home.
I still feel like so many other shows do that format.
Yeah, but I have two very attractive and good-looking hosts.
Vern, it won't matter if they're listening.
Maybe they'll enjoy the banter we have with each other and special guests. We can even make a show that includes all lovers of cinema.
From art house gems?
And raunchy comedies.
I like it. A show that celebrates all forms of entertainment.
Cinema Recall is available everywhere you find great podcasts.
The hell was that?
It's our voice promo guy.
Follow them on Facebook and Instagram under Cinema Recall Podcast and on Twitter at Cinema_Recall.
Vern, can we afford to have a voiceover guy?
We can't afford not to. He used to be a voice guy for movie trailers, but now he just follows me around and gives me movie trailer narration.
That's really sad.
What? Now we're giving him purpose in life. He now has a reason to go on.
Check out past episodes at cinemarecall.net. Promise it's fun!
In a time of fear and suspicion,
You choose to admit your crimes before man and God?
his coming was foretold. Now, he is here.
You know the signs. You are bewitched.
He has the face of an angel,
Channel me a spirit.
the charm of the devil.
Hear me when I say he's evil. Evil absolute.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey, kids.
This week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we're discussing the horror classic Warlock, starring Julian Sands, Richard E. Grant, and Laurie Singer, who I had not seen since Footloose. So that was shocking to me.
Well,
Each
I've never
week-
seen Footloose, so it's not so shocking to me.
What is your problem?
Just,
Very
I was
upsetting.
too mature.
Each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the past, present, and frankly any old time will do. Perhaps with a
We don't
comedic
gizza.
twist. We don't gizza. So there you have it. Aaron, how are you doing?
We were just discussing Julian Sands because every time we sit down to record, we have to check his latest.
Yeah.
1 month missing. Poor Julian Sands. I was going to rewatch Impromptu or, I don't know, Boxing Helena.
Arachnophobia. Boxing
Room with a
Helena.
View. It went from like Masterpiece Theater, Room with a View, and Impromptu, which I saw on PBS, to like a left turn, and it became Warlock and Boxing Helena.
That'll do it every time. I mean,
And now
hopefully
they're rocking some Andes soccer team lost near Mount Baldy. They're rocking that situation now.
Are you talking about alive cannibalism? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah.
This is a real thing, by the way. Julian Sands, hopefully, if you're listening to this right now, Julian is safe at home, happy as a clam, with an interesting story to tell.
And this is
nothing-
all just a fraud, is that it? To boost his career? Because he's sitting there going, that son of a bitch, Harrison Ford, is 103. He's as old as Methuselah, and yet again started another Indiana Jones. And what do I get?
I don't think they're up for the same
Send
roles,
me a spirit
Aaron.
message, Julian.
I don't think Julian Sands and Harrison Ford are fighting over the same scripts, if I had to guess. But who's to say?
Who's to say?
Now, we were also talking about, Anne Rice, the famous novelist, like how she has multiple TV shows based upon her works out and about these days.
R.I.P. And I was saying that, I mean, I read, I don't know, interview where I started reading Queen of the Dam, but really there was always like kind of a pedo background that never sat right with me. I don't
I
care
don't
that everybody's gay. I just didn't like. There's always some kind of child prostitute. There was always something slightly unsavory.
see. Well, that's the thing with the vampire stuff. You have that stuff going down, but with the witches, like the Witching Hour books, it's all incest. It's like VC Andrews or something, and people just kind of go like, "Whatever,
And I
that's my
quote
uncle."
VC Andrews all the time, but I've never read the book because our sisters were all into that. What's it about? Okay, enough. It's enough for me.
Incest. Are you down with
Yeah.
incest? Is
I'm not
basically the
down with
story.
incest. I won't
Not
even date anyone who has a name that could even closely resemble any of my brothers or my father. I mean,
that's
come on.
good. That's just a good. That's
Now,
a
it
good way
wouldn't
to
bother
be.
me to date someone with my own name. That would be kind of interesting, but how about that?
That is also perverse and strange, but whatever. Whatever floats your boat. Sweet
But there
Jesus.
are a freakish amount of Kevins and Patricks, still a popular name, and Brian. All you
Yep.
guys' names are still quite popular today. I sent you some crazy TikTok about men named Kevin in Ireland or something.
There's a lot of them. And actually, my full name is common in Ireland as well. Like, if you go, you can track down people who have my full name. So do
What
it
the hell is
just
your
for
full
fun.
name? Kevin Michael? Kevin Michael!
That's it. Good
Yeah.
times.
Patrick Morgan. Tara's the only wild card with Tara Marie.
She's a wild
Megan
card.
Colleen. And then Aaron Denise. Nothing awesome about my middle name.
Brianna Nora.
Nora. She dropped the Nora when she got married, you know that.
What do you mean? Like, it's not on her?
Not anymore. When she changed her name, she's Brianna Doherty Chester. No Nora.
Oh, that's interesting. No one outside of our family knows anything about this. Aaron, give us your 30-second
It's all
synopsis
about
of
2 syllables and vaguely Irish. That's all you need
vaguely,
to know.
vaguely, exactly. What's the Warlock about, for God's sakes?
Well, a warlock is a male witch. So it's about that. It's about that. It's about time traveling. It's about drinking a nice warm cup of unbaptized baby grease. It is
Oh,
about
God.
aging and ageism in Hollywood.
Yep.
It is about Julian Sands getting his ass kicked by somebody who always makes me think of somebody else. Because I'm like, well, wasn't he in that movie? No. It's the guy who kind of looks like the guy who's in all the stuff. And then in the end, good wins over evil, and the poor girl doesn't have to be 40 anymore. Or 60 or 80 or whatever the hell she was.
Or whatever the case may be.
It's more comedy than drama. They were not playing this straight. There's just no way.
No, well, it's hard to know what their motivations were. Do you
To
remember
me,
when
it was just a comedy.
I don't see comedy. I don't see comedy.
Really?
And that's what I'm saying. I called it a horror movie. This is not a horror movie. I
They
don't
were
know what
going
this
to,
genre is.
before they crossed time, they were going to burn him to death over
Yes.
a basket of living cats. I don't
Yes.
even know what that is. I assume once you set fire to the cats, they're no longer living. But that was one of the things they were going to do. And somehow, by using thumb and toe screws,
Yep.
or the Chinese finger trap, I guess, that's how you can capture a warlock.
That's it. Doesn't seem like an easy thing to do, to be honest, considering warlocks have
true.
powers and spells and shit. But somehow they caught him. Do you remember when you saw this?
40-year-old woman managed to almost capture him and broke her spell.
That was so ridiculous. All that stuff was ridiculous.
Oh, for sure, this is a rental. Especially like in the 90s, we used to have a friend who was in like the Navy Reserves. So, and it was like out of Alameda, and he lived in Santa Cruz. So he would come over on like Friday night and spend the weekend, and we would go to the Blockbuster and we would rent like 3 movies based solely on the titles. Then we get some King Cobra malt liquor
Oh, Jesus.
and get bit by the cobra. And we would just drink beer and watch what is it, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer or
Yep,
whatever
Michael Rooker.
crap. Yeah, for sure. At some point, you have watched everything. There was only
Yes.
like 4 new releases, and 200 people would have already had that reserved. You don't even know young people streaming. What an insane thought.
What an insane thought.
I would
There's no
spend
doubt.
like an hour walking up and down the aisles going, I already saw that.
There's definitely truth to that. I definitely saw this in the theater. And in fact, for a period of time, I feel like this was definitely in my zeitgeist. I think I was very much a Warlock fan, but I swear
For
to God, I have
sure.
not seen it for 30 years.
I think I mean, it doesn't suffer as much as Highlander, because I don't think in my mind this was as great as Highlander. So
No.
the reality was not so crushing. But I thought it was still kind of enjoyable.
It was fun.
But I was always in love with Julian Sands, so here's another chance. And I normally I don't like the blondes, but I don't know.
He's kind of an awkward looking gentleman, I have to be honest.
He has
You
good
think he's
eyes. Like when he looks at you, it's kind of hot. I don't know. He's no
Okay.
Malkovich.
Oh,
He's
Jesus.
not a Walken. He's not a Malkovich.
Do you hear
Where
the
they're,
names
like,
that you're
sexy.
saying? Do you hear the names that you're saying as if they are the names of handsome people? Sweet
I'm
Jesus.
just saying, these are people that are strange but attractive. He's much more mainstream.
Okay. Whatever you say.
Ask any
Sweet
woman
Lord.
who ever saw Dangerous Liaisons. Malkovich was both sexy and then you feel like you were going to have to take a shower afterward. Yet there was something very compelling. And the same with Walken. Walken in the Dead Zone. He was on the cover. I will kid you not. He was on the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine,
Right.
the thinking woman sex symbol. Christopher Walken. Cover.
It's like we're in Bizarro world. Truly.
He was quite handsome. He wasn't freaky like in The Deer Hunter. He was at his attractive peak in the Dead Zone. Plus, that was such like a vulnerable thing. You're like, Christopher Walken, I'll come and take care of you.
I'm not saying that. Sorry. If you're
He
listening,
was
no
like an
offense.
Edward Scissorhands when you like you got to rush in there and like it's gonna be all right.
Interesting. Let's jump in.
Is it interesting, Kevin?
Only our audience knows for sure. Let's get started on the highlights of Warlock. You go first.
Like
there.
I said, the first thing I wrote down was burn him over a basket of living cats.
That's standard. I mean, I guess that's the only way to truly be sure that you're going to dispose of a Warlock.
I guess you get rid of the familiars too at the same time. But
here's what go ahead.
But
sorry.
they're not living when you set them on fire. Do they stay alive in these special cats that generate their own heat? I don't know.
Well, they don't instantly die either. They're hanging on for a few moments, if only.
Why do they have to be kicking and screaming? And why won't a dead cat work? You
I don't
also
make
have
the
to have a
rules.
sacrifice. All right. And then I wrote toe screws.
Here's my question. This takes place in the 17th century, the 1600s.
Century, yes.
In Boston.
Yes.
And look, I don't know how people spoke back then, but
I think it's the Crucible. Basically you needed Winona with her great rendition of the Crucible. It's about that level accent. She was the voice coach.
Yeah, exactly. That must be it. Julian Sands has just an English accent, straight up. And Richard E. Grant is like cultivating some kind of crazy Scottish accent for some reason. He is not. The actor is English, but he's doing a Scottish accent to play somebody, a witch hunter from New England.
His
So I don't know.
father's from Swaziland.
Is
He's
that true?
Swazi
In
English or
Africa?
something. Yeah. It's not called
Interesting.
that anymore.
It's not called that anymore. But it's a bizarre choice. I mean, I guess you just hire British actors and say do whatever the hell you want. Is that kind of how it goes?
That's
I'm not
right.
sure.
I'm not sure what a Boston accent would have sounded back then. I assume they would have just sounded British. It's not enough, I would think, for them to have their own accent. I mean, they
I
hadn't
don't
been,
know.
but in the 1600s, they really hadn't been there that long. So I assume you had whatever accent you rolled up on.
Well, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis was in the movie version of The Crucible, and he was kind of sporting some kind of crazy American-ish accent. So
They're just making shit up.
they're
Nobody
just
knows
making
what
shit
people.
up.
I mean, like I said, we hadn't been there that long. If it was a British colony, I expect to hear some British accents. But historically, and we're just going off on it too,
Yes, we-
would they
We're
be
historians.
speaking current British back then? Or would it be, I don't know, are they babbling like Chaucer? I don't know.
Could be. Who can say? I guess let's not get hung
Well,
up on this.
There's probably people who can say. Just
So
not
he's
us.
Julian Sand has been captured, and he's in thumb screws, and they're about to sacrifice him. But somehow he does some. He's out of the chains, and he casts a spell, and he goes through
Well,
time
if you notice, he was dressed like a ninja. So,
with no shoes on for no reason, right?
like
He was barefoot.
Kwai Chang, this is like a kind of a kung fu.
Kwai Chang cane, which is not doesn't just roll off the tongue anyway.
Snatch the apple from my hand, grasshopper.
Grasshopper.
He just needs a bamboo pole and then Satan. There
The
you
old
go.
bamboo.
The old bamboo.
So I was confused. Okay, so he goes through time, and witch hunter Richard E. Grant like goes after him, and I guess also gets sucked through time. And now it's early 90s.
Well, they get sucked through time,
Yes.
and yet don't end up in the same state they left from. What's
Across
that
the
about?
country.
Yeah, they moved to the other side of the country. What would have stopped them from landing in the middle of the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean? I
None
guess
of it
that's
makes
the end
it.
of the movie.
Or just dropped into a volcano. Who knows? I mean, anything could happen.
Somehow, they landed in like the suburbs of Los Angeles and not Boston.
Well, I think after the fact, we were told, just because, what was it? The main girl is the roommate of this guy who I guess is an interior decorator. I'm not sure what the situation was, but they're very much like, oh, by the way, this guy's gay, in case there's any doubt.
That's I'm not a whore. He's gay.
Right.
This is not not a Jack Tripper situation, or is it a Jack Tripper situation? Come on,
It's what Mr. Roper thinks the situation is supposed to be.
Where's
Exactly.
Mr. Roper? Where's Mrs. Roper?
That's correct. So Julian Sands has gone forward into time, 300 years, more than 300 years into the future, looking for the pages of the Grand Grimoire. Why they had to travel 300 years in the future to do this, unclear.
Why couldn't they go like a year in the future?
Right. Why couldn't he just teleport out of the chains and he's still in 1691 or whatever it is?
It's 5 minutes later.
5 minutes later. There's no explanation. So up
It's
to this
kind of
point,
a time after time situation.
it could have been. Up to this point, we are just told that he's an evil guy, that he's a witch, right?
We don't know because it seemed like they were really uncool to him. We're not exactly sure what he did. They seem like brutes. I'm like, why you gotta mess with Julian Sands? He looks so pretty with his ponytail.
Well, and we take for granted that during the Salem witch trials, many of those people were not actually witches.
Right. So we start off here. Maybe he's innocent until he calls father.
Cast a spell.
Cast a spell. The milk runs dry, and I don't know, the old bamboo.
So what was shocking to me is that when Julian Sands reveals his true colors, The dude is the gay roommate is chopping lettuce or whatever the hell he's doing in the kitchen, and he has a crazy like scorpion ring, pinky ring, and just out of nowhere, Julian Sands takes a butcher knife, chops the guy's finger off, pulls the ring off.
No, it was building up. I knew exactly it was going to happen because he's like, "Oh, I'd let you try it on, but my knuckles are all busted up, so I can't get the ring off." And Julian Sands like, "Forget it. I'll help you with that." I knew
get
that was
that for
coming
you.
off. When
Right,
people
but
stare at
again,
your ring, if you're on the streets of, like, say, New Orleans in an alley late at night, and someone
as one
says,
does,
as one does, drunk as a lord, and someone says that's a very nice ring, hey, I'd let you try it on, but I can't get it off my finger. We're gonna hear
gotta
about you on
go.
the news. We're gonna hear about you on the news, or
Snip,
maybe not in
snip.
New Orleans. We don't. It'll just be uncovered.
And then
Lake Pontchartrain, they find you.
that's correct. He finishes off the roommate by what? It looks like he's making out with him, but really he just goes in there and bites the guy's tongue off for no reason. And like
I thought
all
it
the
was
way
a make out,
back,
and I'm like, no. But I'm not sure how you do that.
you can't.
Unless the roommate was, in fact, giving him the deep tongue.
He'd have to no. I mean, he was back to the root. Basically, he'd have to have like a jaw like alien or something where it'll like kind of extend out down the guy's throat. Yeah, it's
He offered it up. They fought a little bit. He kind of gave in. Gave
That's
him
what it was?
the tongue, slipped the tongue, and
Slip
then
the tongue.
slipped it right off.
Snip, snip. At this point we meet the roommate, Laurie Singer, whose character's name I can't remember. But we're supposed to think she's a very typical Los Angeles chick in the early 90s. And I have to say, I lived through this time period, and I never saw anyone dress the way she dresses.
It really was rocking more of an 80s. It's really, really like an 80s hangover because her outfits did not seem out of place. It looked
You are
like,
crazy. She was wearing some kind of silver hoodie. I don't know. Is she from
dude,
another planet? What is
it was
happening?
a thing. It was a thing.
Oh,
I was like, okay,
in Humboldt,
okay.
maybe.
Are you kidding me? No, this is when I was living in the Bay Area. No, it seemed a thing. She had like the overly puffy sweater, but it was also cropped. She had like a metallic skirt. It was an 80s hangover. She was not dressing 90s yet. It was an 80s hangover.
This is crazy town. She was dressed like Daryl Hannah from Blade Runner.
You were half a fetus. You were half a fetus during
92? 92, I was a senior in high school. Thank you very much.
I don't
How
remember
dare you.
anyone dressing like that in 92.
Of course not.
It was super 80s though.
So, okay, I'll take your word for it. You lived it.
92, I was, God, 2 years later, I was birthing a baby.
Well, because you were 75 years old, for God's sakes.
You son of a. I was a child, I'll have you know.
So, okay, then there's a scene.
I will argue with you that her haircut and her outfit looked really reminiscent of like 12 Monkeys, actually.
It was 12 Monkeys. This ain't standard. What you got?
I would have rocked it, though.
Yeah, I believe it.
All I kept thinking was, I need a silver skirt.
They're making a comeback, are they?
I'm making it make a comeback.
Making it. What do you got?
I have a note here, something about in this time, a lot of blonde men with very thin hair, including one of our cousins, one of our later cousins. It's all about slicking it all the way back with a ponytail. And you weren't doing this, Biz, if you had thick, wavy hair. It's all these guys with this blonde hair slicking it all the way back, which gives you the crazy super widow's peak.
And that's the look people are cultivating? Is that what you're saying?
I'm rocking it's still kind of an 80s. It's like a kind of a Wings of Desire thing. If he had a tan trench coat, you wouldn't even say boo.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I have this note and I'm having difficulty deciphering it. I'm going to pull an Aaron.
All right.
I wrote down honks an old lady. Do you know what that is referring to?
Well, the first thing I thought of is he's going up. Yes! He goes up and went beep, beep. Wasn't there something like that?
What?
Wasn't that a thing?
No, okay, it's coming to me. When we first meet the chick, the central female character,
Yes.
she's driving down the street, and there's an old woman in her way.
She grabbed her boobs?
No, she's honking at her to get out of the way. She's an old woman. Forgot this. Leave that old woman alone.
Man. We got places to be. Driving makes you angry.
So
I don't know what I'm thinking of then.
If you're thinking of something else, there's no boob play in this movie. It isn't that kind of movie.
It wasn't like a boob play, but more like a Benny Hill. Beep, beep.
Julian Sands goes to some sort of psychic clairvoyant woman played by Mary Woronov, whose name
the chick from Rock and Roll High School.
Night of the Comets, Eating Growl, the list goes on and on.
I saw Eating Growl.
She pretends to be, or I guess she's a fraud, obviously. Right. But of course, Julian Sands is able to actually get her to be a medium and summon the devil or something.
Why can't if his pops can send up the tornado of time travel?
Yes.
There's not like a shell phone, shallow, where you can just contact Dad. How are you getting your daily instructions?
That's a question. So basically, this is what reveals the central plot of the movie. That's how we know why he was sent here and what he's here to do. To hunt down because the Grand Grimoire, which is the evil Bible, the anti-Bible.
Yeah. A book of spells that's supposed to have the name of Jesus. If you say it backwards, it stops it reverses creation.
Right. So he's there to hunt it down. And I guess that's why one of the chest of drawers that were in the apartment had like 1/3 of the grand
table.
Is that what it was? Something like that. It was
a dining table. And it was so stupid because Julian Sands hits it with a knife, and it already bounced practically off. But he continued having to. I think he was holding it down and chopping it so it didn't just knock over. And then
that's correct.
Just loose. I mean, it's an old table. There was probably ketchup dripping on the ground. Someone spilled a glass of wine. Are you sure you even got it right? I mean, things are getting erased.
No question. It's been fully defiled, grease smeared all over it. Yeah, it's
as we learned in what's it called, Warcraft country. You say those words wrong, ain't gonna work out for you.
Warcraft country. We read a book called Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft country. That's what I meant.
World of Warcraft country is something else.
It's coming soon.
Exactly. So the witch hunter arrives on the scene. For some reason, he's wearing like a full-blown duster made out of animal fur that he has to wear.
How can you not say this isn't a comedy? At one point, the girl is sitting next to him, goes to put her head on her shoulder, smells him, and leans back and sleeps on the other side.
They didn't have deodorant back in the day. What can I say?
They used a natural deodorant. That's called nothing.
So he's here to hunt down. He's here to hunt down the Warlock, Julian Sands. But there's a scene in this movie that I found shocking. Honestly,
lay it on me. Lay it on me.
There's the little boy on the swing set, and there's Julian Sands swinging next to him, talking to him. He's like, "What's that building over there?" He's like, "Oh, that's the church." "Why are you not in church?" And the way they speak is all very Shakespearean and flowery, which I found amusing. I enjoyed that. He's like, why have you not gone hence to church? He's like, I'm I was never baptized. My dad didn't like the church or whatever. He's like, oh, well, I'm a warlock. He's like, really? It's like, can you do some spells? He's like, yes, but I need what I'm trying to remember what he says. I need the
He says
fat.
something, I'm gonna need something from you. I'm gonna need to remove all the skin off your body.
It basically was a smash cut to him saying, I need something from you, to here is a jar of of fat or something that's
Bubbling
cooking
in an
on the
old
grill.
can. It was like a
It-
hobo barbecue, heating the beans right on the barbecue.
Right. He had said, yes, off camera, thankfully, he had murdered this 11-year-old boy
Yep.
and sucked all the fat out of his body and was cooking it. And he would drink and he like guzzles the fat from the old chock full of nuts can. And now he has the power of flight.
Which is
But-
interesting because not 10 minutes later, he's hiding on an airplane.
Well, it's hard to fly cross country. I think that's.
He went through all that, but he never really utilized it. You see him cruising down one street. That's it. The rest of the time, he's still hoofing it or hiding in the cargo area of a plane.
The geography of this movie is confusing to me. So they're in LA, and that's how he finds the first.
They said they're in Canyon Country, which is where I think our last one of our movies took place with the monkeys. And the alien.
Nope.
It's also Canyon Country.
So then they drive, and they find themselves on the farm of a Mennonite man. Like, how far
That's
did they?
in L.A.
That's what are there a lot of Mennonites?
Are they in Palmdale? Are they in Lancaster? Just where from L.A. did they find the Mennonite farm?
This is an important question because he literally says, Redfern, the witch hunter, goes, "Are you Amish?" The guy's like, "No, I'm Mennonite." And I kept thinking,
did we have the Amish in 16?
That's what I wrote down. I wrote down, weren't everybody Amish in 1691? Right?
That's a good one. Now, I got to take you back to the seance because I do have in my notes.
Hit me.
Crystal Wiener and an orgasm.
Yeah, okay. The medium was holding a 6-inch crystal wand.
Yes.
And
a wand, we're calling it. All right.
Okay, well, a rod? I don't know how you like to describe it.
Yes.
Okay, we're getting too close to comfort. And I guess when she gets possessed, the rod explodes. Is this what you're suggesting? Is some kind of perverse?
Or she's holding it, then she starts her moaning. Then the rod releases its energy. I guess.
Okay, there we go.
How's that?
Not too good.
Shut your mouth.
I'm not liking
You made
it.
no notes of that. I was like, what the hell is happening?
Yes, that was well. Then he plucks her eyeballs out and uses that as kind of divining rod to track down the missing pages. But again, I don't know how helpful that's going to be if you have to travel all the way to Boston.
Well,
right?
Not only that, mysteriously, when he plucked the eyeballs, the eyelids came with it.
Yes, as they do.
And then, I don't know if this is her, but does she get fangs and everything? Who's the person who's...
Yes, the medium...
But she opens her mouth so wide, you can see the top of the appliance that they have for her teeth. She over and over again. I'm like, you're in a room full of people, and nobody sees that?
No,
they're too busy. No one will notice. Keep rolling. Keep rolling.
They're looking at Julian Sands' ponytail. That's all it is.
Looking at his ponytails and his intense, lovely eyes. Keep going.
Later in the movie, Redfern has to go on a plane, and he brings this just tells you how different things were back in 92. You could literally board a plane with a 9-foot lightning rod strapped to your back, and no one says boo.
You don't even know. I used to fly in the 80s to my boarding school, to my high school, I would walk on the plane with my friend. It was like going to see
Yep.
someone off on a cruise ship. And I could sit and chit chat with them until their plane took off. You could go anywhere and do anything. Back in the old days, children, people would go to these restaurants at the airport and have dinner and watch the planes take off. It was
No longer. No longer. Well, evidently, also in 1992, if you unplugged the credit card machine, they would just go like, "Oh well, go ahead. You can board the plane without paying."
100%. So back in
Pretty
the old days, even before that, when I used to work retail, you just put your card in this thing and you just ran this thing across. It was like it made an imprint of it.
Right, of course.
It was not plugged. Back in the old days, it wasn't plugged in. At least this one is more updated. Back in the old days, you had a credit card. You could just be on the run.
Oh, right.
You could just until the monthly bill. There was no approval. You had a piece of plastic. It ran through.
I do recall
one was
that.
verifying nothing.
Yes, that is true. We didn't even talk about the fact that the main girl gets cursed. So she wakes up the next day, and instead of being in her 20s, now she's in her 40s, allegedly.
Well, she's claiming she was exactly 20. So she wakes up and she's 40. So what does 40 look like? 40 means your hair is completely gray. Your face is wrinkled and cracked.
Yep.
And she's walking like she has a fractured pelvis.
That's correct. Like sunken eye sockets.
In Hollywood, you might as well be dead.
You might as well be dead. 100%.
Every 24 hours, she ages 20 years. So at the time she gets to 60, she's ready to put a bullet through her head because no one can live through that.
It was so ridiculous. She's 60 years old, and she's chasing the train, but she's moving like she's 102. I mean, she can barely...
She's running like Forrest Gump before he kicks off his leg braces.
She can barely put one foot in front of the other. For God's sakes.
It was Kaiser Soze right at the end of The Usual Suspects.
It was like, sweet Jesus. What is happening?
But when she was 40 and her hair was like in 20 years, her hair had gone all the way down like she was Crystal Gale. And it was just
Crystal
great.
Gale.
She was decrepit. That was the best.
Frankly, I was offended. I was like, how dare you with this
40,
caricature?
I might as well be dead.
Just kill me now. Leave me.
Don't look at me. I'm a hideous freak.
I'm a monster. Oh, good times.
Good old. Was this a Weinstein production too?
It might as well have been, for goodness sakes. What else you got?
What's in her mouth?
Oh, right. Okay. For some reason, and I was falling asleep at this point. They take old pennies and put them in their mouths because I'm not supposed to like ward off the spirits from Julian Sands. So she's delivering lines with these pennies. Why would he leave a page behind? Even one page.
They were like hanging off the side of her lips.
Yes.
And there was a continuity issue because later on, she puts the pennies in her mouth to ward off evil. But earlier, it was like she had them earlier, then she didn't have them, then she has them, but she's explaining it.
Yes.
But I kept thinking, is the whole appliance just falling out now? Is that what's next?
It could be. Who's to say?
And then she was walking around with nails because you don't have pockets when you're 40? Is that the other thing? I got to put like 8 nails so they're all sticking out of my lips like a porcupine while I'm running?
That's correct. Well, Redfern was dealing with the Mennonite gentleman whose eyes were bleeding because he made eye contact with Julian Sands.
What do you want me to do for you, dude? Don't stare at a warlock. Did someone have to tell you that?
Don't do it, brother. So he
go to my class tomorrow and say, dude, everyone knows. Raise your hand if you don't know you're not supposed to stare at a warlock. And then we're just going to wait for parent phone calls.
Frankly, don't stare at Julian Sands just to be safe for it.
And quite frankly, don't make eye contact with me. You don't know me.
You don't know me? Absolutely. Well, he'd given her nails and a holy hammer because evidently when warlocks are running on beach sand, if you take a nail and pound it into the footprint, that I guess causes some pain to a warlock's foot. It's hard to know what the story is.
So all warlocks have to run around like I Dream of Genie and be barefoot?
It is.
Because at one point he holds a board over his feet and then it stops working. So she shoves it through his head hole. But so if he was just wearing shoes, he'd be, I don't know.
Nobody
Nothing would
knows.
affect him.
There's a lot of this kind of mumbo jumbo that's kind of given to us with no explanation. Just there's no build up. They're like, oh yeah, do this. This does something. Go hammer nails into the sand. Maybe you're just telling her to leave him alone. For all I know, yeah, go pound sand.
Go shake like the femur of Winona Ryder from the Crucible at her.
Winona Ryder's still alive. So,
but she would have been dead from the Crucible to now. I know Winona Ryder's still alive.
Poor Winona Ryder. Oh, sweet Jesus.
You gotta stay like some people. You gotta stay in your own lane, man. That's all I gotta say.
You do? I like Winona Ryder, by the way.
In what?
In everything she does, especially in the Crucible, especially the Crucible.
I can't imagine Daniel Day-Lewis like in a scene with her, just looking at her with the words that were coming out of his mouth. He must have been just scratching his head. I often wonder if he'd like pull her aside. You might want to try it this way, but in this crazy Irish accent. Or did he just like have just like an entire interior monologue going in his head going, Daniel, don't freak out. This is good money.
He was already freaking out. Well, it caused problems because I guess later during the filming of The Crucible, I don't know why we're talking about this. I guess because he was so much of a method actor, he was like smacking her around for real.
He got fed up with her shit, man.
It's possible. We don't recommend
your
that.
Accent together.
Take an acting class, damn it. We didn't even we zipped by. Okay, when Julie, go ahead.
If that happened to me, even on set, somebody's gonna get a kick. That's all.
Absolutely. I don't give a damn what method.
A little too. I'm like, it's going on. I'd be like, oh yeah, it's cool, man, motherfucker.
I'll cut you. Absolutely.
I'll have those special boots where the little knife comes out of the toe. See,
like a James Bond, and just start poking people.
Lewis, you and me, mano a mano. I'm kicking your little Irish ass.
Lewis? Daniel Day is what we call him. We skipped over the part when he's talking, when Julian Sands goes to talk to the medium. And she says, I charge more for group sessions, if you know what I mean. She said group session. What does she do? She does charge extra for that, though.
I think she's with Jesus, but what a character actress. She was in everything.
Absolutely.
Any other? Rock and Roll High School. Rock and Roll High School. Oh, did you notice at the end that while they're acting, like a tombstone just randomly fell over in the background?
Yes. It was like an Ed Wood production.
Knife from outer space. I was like, what the hell? It's in clear shot.
Oh, it's ridiculous. You guys can call cut and then reset and let's try that again.
One more time. It wasn't like it was a scene where everybody was crying. It wasn't so
The Crucible
voice and right at the pinnacle, like I don't know, one of the gallows fell over. Hey, sorry, we're gonna have to take a 5.
No
tears. No, it's just a random scene and like shit's just falling over in the background.
That's quality. Yes. Shall we go behind the scenes for God's sakes?
And I will tell you one more thing. How come Redfern just didn't stay?
I don't know if he could. Remember, he's not casting spells, right?
He's
The
there.
warlock. Because he jumped into the hole chasing the warlock. So I think when the spell was over, he just got summoned back. So it's very
I'll
sad. So
tell
their
you
love.
one thing. Our
Yep.
love could be pure and fresh and of the ages, but I'm not going back to 16, whatever.
Oh, hell no.
Little brother's going to have to learn to adapt.
Absolutely.
That's right.
They had not discovered antibiotics.
Ordinary love. No.
Is that Sade? The Marquis de Sade. Shall we go behind the scenes, for God's sakes?
Let's do it.
The scene where the warlock flies out of the cargo compartment on the airplane took several takes. The actor couldn't easily open the cargo door, so they actually had to hire an airline employee to do it. So there you go. The original screenplay was about a good-natured warlock who was persecuted in the past and then came to the present and found that he was still persecuted. And they're like, this script sucks. So they started from scratch, and that's when we came up with Warlock as we know it today.
I would be curious to see that. And then Redfern's just kind of a dick who's still persecuting.
He's a persecutor.
It's not
Absolutely.
my fault I had to drink the baby's blood. I had places to go. We don't have cars.
They
I
do
gotta
not.
fly. It's your fault for not getting your baby baptized.
That's what I'm saying. When Julian Sands received the script, he assumed it was in the mold of the then popular slasher movies. So it sat around a while before he actually got around to reading it. However, once he read it, he was captivated and quickly became excited about the film.
He's like, I was in Room with a View, and now I'm the Warlock.
Is that a lateral move? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure how you make that kind of a jump.
Well, it's basically, I got bills to pay. That's how you make that kind of jump.
It's true. It's true. But unfortunately, once he made that jump, he really never crawled back.
He never crawled back. It's very sad. Julian Sands was originally considered for the part of the witch hunter, Redfern, and Richard E. Grant was going to play the Warlock, but they decided to play them against type because Julian Sands doesn't typically play these kind of villainous characters.
No, he does not.
The fate of the unbaptized male child was intended to be shown, but was ultimately deemed to be too gruesome.
What do you mean show? Like they're going to just be like peeling it off and then wringing him out like a lemon? What were they going to show?
That's what they were going to show.
Your mouth. This isn't the Hitcher.
It's the baseball boy.
It's the baseball boy.
Very sad. Let's see. On the Wall and Cassandra with a K. That was her name. Cassandra with a K.
I love how they just kept calling her Cassandra with a K.
On the wall in Cassandra's house hangs Gladys, Phoebe's scary woman coming out of the frame painting from Friends. So there you go.
Didn't see it.
Doesn't mean anything to you? Very sad.
No.
Let's see. Ooh, this is kind of a sad story. In 1995, in Saskatoon, Canada, a teenager and an unnamed accomplice murdered a child to drink the fat to fly like Julian Sands.
Oh my God. This is like the Slenderman situation going on.
Absolutely.
Here. And I'm guessing it didn't work.
Did not work, and he was found not guilty by reason of insanity, and he's in the Security Regional Psychiatric Center in Saskatoon. Eesh.
Dude, I went to high school with a dude from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Do you remember him?
It's the same person.
Same. I mean, who's to
George Genereux. All right,
that's
George.
him.
Hopefully, it's not you.
Sweet Jesus, kids. These are called movies. Okay, this isn't a documentary.
It's not
a
cookbook. This is not none of these.
It's
fiction.
A cookbook.
It's a cookbook.
Shall we talk about the cast and crew? For goodness sake. On that gruesome note. Let's see. The movie was directed by Steve Miner, who has done quite a few of the movies that we've done on this show.
I bet.
He directed House,
All right.
Warlock,
Yes.
Halloween, H2O,
Oh, Lord.
several episodes of The Wonder Years with Red Savage. He also directed Friday the 13th Part 2 and Part 3.
What?
All sorts of good stuff. Yep.
So now is this a personal favorite of yours now?
Absolutely. The writer, David Toohey, you know him. He wrote the screenplay for The Fugitive, for Pitch Black, for G.I. Jane.
I will tell you, I did see Pitch Black and enjoyed it. That's where I discovered Vin Diesel.
Pitch Black is quite good. We might have to do that on the show at some point.
I was like, I need to see more of this Vin Diesel character.
Okay, let's talk about the cast. Julian Sands played Warlock. No other name, evidently.
It's
know
Joe.
him.
Joe the Warlock.
He was Joe the Warlock. He was in A Room with a View,
Yep.
Warlock, Naked Lunch, and the Jackie Chan film The Medallion. So there you go.
It all comes full circle.
It does.
And you forgot Impromptu.
And Arachnophobia.
I think Mandy Patinkin is Impromptu also.
Good old Mandy. Laurie Singer played Cassandra with a K.
She was dynamite.
You know her as Ariel from Footloose. That's literally what I know her from. She was the female lead in Footloose.
Never saw
she
it.
Was
in
terrible. Shortcuts.
Nope.
She was in something called Mea Maxima something or other.
Mea Culpa. No.
One thing I know about Laurie Singer is her brother is Mark Singer, who was the Beastmaster. He was in The Final Battle, all those things. You don't remember anything? What is your problem?
I didn't have a TV for part of the 80s.
Okay.
I remember going away to college and I realized there was no television and I was just getting into V because Freddy Krueger was in V.
Well, he wasn't Freddy Krueger yet. He became Freddy Krueger after V. So there you go.
How did I know him then?
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, he was in the series.
Yes,
Robert
he was.
Englund.
Richard E. Grant played Redfern. You know him from Gosford Park.
Yes.
He was in Hudson Hawk.
No.
With Nail and I. He was in Can You Ever Forgive Me from a couple years ago.
He was nominated for an Academy Award for that.
I believe he was actually he was in Doctor Who. He was in Bram Stoker's Dracula with Keanu and Winona.
More Winona.
Yeah, all sorts of good stuff. Mary Woronov, I don't know why I cannot pronounce her last name, no matter what I do. She played the Channeler. You know her from Eating Raoul, Death Race 2000, Night of the Comet, and Rock and Roll High School.
Rock and Roll High School. Riff Randall. I wish I had a child or a pet. I would name them Riff Randall.
As you should. Do you want to know about any other cast members? I don't think there's anybody else.
I'm not sure there are any other cast members.
Brandon Call played Little Boy.
And?
You know him from Jagged Edge, Blind Fury.
Oh, Warlock. I saw that.
Absolutely. And for 7 years, he was on Step by Step with Patrick Duffy and Suzanne Summers.
Hey, he had a whole thing. I thought you were going to tell me that he's like a televangelist or something.
And now he's a televangelist. With the kid from whatever, Full House or Empty House or whatever. Yes, the kid from Full House / Empty House. You know him, don't you? Let's talk about the ratings, shall we? Warlock, currently 53% rotten.
I think that's a little strong.
Little strong. Do you know what the audience gave it?
72.
48. It's a sad situation.
To me, it still held up a little bit better than, like I said, the Great Highlander debacle. When I just remember being in college going, "This may be the greatest movie ever."
Yeah, that
I
that
may
is.
have been drinking.
You may have been. I'm looking at top critics, and there are a couple top critics, but they just gave scores. They don't actually have their review, so that's not very interesting to talk about.
Especially if they have
Uh,
no names. If it's Jimmy McNichol from
Jimmy Christie's older brother,
yes, if he was
Jimmy
writing
McNichol,
from like the
isn't that
Des
somebody?
Moines Penny Saver, I don't want to hear it.
Anyway, why don't you give me your rating,
I
GD?
haven't. Okay. Like I said, there were parts I was a little bored with.
Yes.
I mean, we're really doing this because we're Julian Sands is out there, he's missing, and I feel sad. It makes me feel a little bit sad. So, because I have seen so many of his movies in my younger days. So because of that, I'm going to give this movie more grace than if this was just a random Wednesday and you nominated this. I might have
Okay.
more prejudice and rage.
Yes.
But there were parts of it that were kind of funny. There were some weird parts.
Yes.
I think it's ripe for a remake. So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna give it a pity 3 out of 5 long tongue kisses with Julian Sands, where he may or may not bite my tongue off.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, you know what? There was one more bit of trivia I forgot to
Yes.
mention. They had created a bunch of appliances to make Laurie Singer look older at 40 and even older at 60, but she refused to wear them.
Because
That's
they were
why
so insulting.
that's why at 40 it was just a lot of like, let's give her some eye makeup and call it a day. What do you think?
Oh, are
Good
you
times.
kidding me? She was totally like gray and cracked, and her hair was like gunmetal gray at 40.
That is true. That is true. I'm gonna give it let's say 3 out of 5 eyeballs scooped out of Mary Warner. So
it's
there you go.
interesting. We're agreeing, actually.
Yes, we agree. And I guess her scene with the eyeball scooping, that scene was supposed to be more gruesome as well. Like this movie was much more gruesome.
I love it. It was going to be a wacky comedy, and then they're like, "Oh no, we need to see him skinning the baby."
That's what I'm saying. No, it is. Look, it is inoffensive. It has the performances are quite good. I would argue. Everybody's a professional actor.
Everybody's a professional actor.
Absolutely. But you're right. It kind of feels low stakes oftentimes. And I have to say, it's like Julian Sands when he's like conjuring like the fire or whatever was clearly like animation. It was like cartoons, is what it looked like from Saturday morning. But it's fine. It's if it's on, maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I
There's no
won't.
nudity. There
Nope.
is no on-screen. Well, there's a finger that gets chopped off. Besides a finger getting chopped off, there's really not that much violence.
No, there isn't. You see a lot of, there's a tongue. There's a, the fat of an unbaptized child cooking on the grill. But other than that, good for the whole family.
I was wondering what that tasted like. Would it be just like having some Crisco and then you're just drinking it? Some manteca instead of making your tamales? I'm just gonna have some sips on this, Grandma, if you don't mind.
It's like sipping bacon fat. How's that grab you? Sweet Jesus. So, thank you very much.
Quick, but it might come right back.
It might come right back up. You can find us on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. We're on Facebook at the podcast that wouldn't die. Aaron, are we on Insta and TikTok?
We're on the Ticker Talker. And kids, let me tell you, Ticker Talker is crack. I cannot tell you. If you don't know, I don't know how people do anything else in the day. but just see what the hell. I don't even watch a 30-second video because I already have to click to see what's next. What's next? Is there a bot fly? Is the next video going to be someone getting their zit squeeze? Is the
Oh,
next
no.
one someone dressing in an outfit from the 1930s? And this is the cummerbund we wear. It's every video is something weirder and stranger with the most annoying music playing over whatever the hell is going on. I
Aaron, no
literally watched
videos.
a Chinese man who was sleeping on like a brick bed where you light a fire underneath it, but the smoke was coming up, so he filled it with dirt. I don't know what's happening. Maybe the
No,
government should step in.
no video can be as disturbing and upsetting as your videos that you're putting out there, frankly. Sweet
I
Jesus.
like to test the filters out. Did you like the McDonald's filter this
That's
week?
what I mean. Terrifying. Has nothing to do with anything, but it's upsetting me.
It was
Anyway.
upsetting also. And I finally learned how to turn the music off because there's also horrifying Chinese music that plays over all of these things unless you turn it off. But anyway, we're on TikTok. We are the podcast that wouldn't die. We are, in fact, on the Instagram. We are the podcast that wouldn't die. And you said we're on
Dynamite.
Twitter, and I had to turn off all notifications for Twitter now because all I get are notifications from Elon Musk and people I don't even follow. That's all I get. I'm not even following you, Elon Musk. So why is my phone at break suddenly all these Twitter notifications?
It's madness. It's
Nobody
madness.
I'm following.
You can also email us at the
I'm sending the
podcast that wouldn't
Warlock.
die. At the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail.
Gmail.
We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review.
Are we on
Won't
Good
you?
Pods?
Say what?
Are we on Good Pods?
Yes.
Are we on SoundCloud?
It's like you're looking for one we're not on. No, we're not on SoundCloud. It could be.
How come we
Anything's
don't
possible.
have a Patreon account? And how come, have you noticed that other more successful podcasts, you can't listen to them anymore? They're all subscriptions now.
The ones
all
I
the ones I
listen
used
to,
to
I can
listen-
listen to for free.
Well, I listen, as I am a more sophisticated person, all
Okay.
of mine have now gone to full subscription.
Well, then don't listen to them anymore.
But it's Aaron Mankey's lore. I love lore.
Very upsetting. They got to pay their
Son of a
bills too.
bitch, Aaron Mankey.
What is your personal social media following there, Aaron?
I've got so much media. Well, I'll have you know that I am the cult of Aaron. Join the cult. Aaron loves a good cult. I am on the Facebook. I am also Don't Feed the Pigeons on the Insta. And then I have personal artsy fartsy accounts. I'm on First Dibs and what is the other thing I'm on? Oh, artsy. I'm on artsy. Soon I will also be on other sources, but I got to get my shit together.
Dynamite.
Enough said, sir.
Next
I
week.
say good day, sir.
I said good day. Next week, we'll be discussing the horror classic Congo, where, there's monkeys, they're attacking people in the jungle. So good times.
Kids, we were just on a podcast. How come you didn't nominate this on the other podcast?
Because that it's not an 80s action film and not a Bruce Lee movie. So there you go. It stars Laura Linney, Jodan Baker, Bruce Campbell, Ernie Hudson, Tim Curry. The list goes on and on.
Tim Curry said it. In my mind, this is some kind of gorillas fighting Bruce Lee kind of a situation. Will gorillas, in fact, be doing some ninja biz?
Hey, who's to say? You'll just have to wait and find out. Tune in.
Well,
it's on.
Eat people's lips.
They might. They're gorillas, gorilla-ish creatures.
All right,
so you can watch it on Pluto TV with ads. Otherwise, you might have to, pay a little extra for sans ads, if you will.
Can I buy this? Can I buy the original VHS on the Amazon or what?
You probably can. I don't know why you'd be so inclined to do so, though. There's a lot of things you can do, but why would you? Send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may just talk about them on the show. So good times had by all.
All right.
So thank you very much, and be well.
Be well, children. Don't take the fentanyl.